what I was doing in Google Ads, it's a tedious thing. The big breakthrough here is that we have AI which can help write these scripts. So you'll notice I do have 3 different scripts running. The negative one is a huge time saver than the actual bidding for different keyword groups and the quality score tracker. So those are the 3 critical and easy components to implement.
We are here chatting with Tree Fine. Tree is the resident expert in AI. He runs our Google Ads as well. And today he's going to talk about a little bit of how he's combining the two to automate some of his workflow. Welcome, Tree. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, hey Patrick and Amanda. Hey Internet. This is pretty exciting. There's been this kind of challenge for people who manage Google Ads over the years, and there's a lot of power that can be had in Google Ads with scripting and automation, but it's really tricky for like the average Joe to leverage things like that. The big breakthrough here is that we have AI which can help write these scripts to help automate bidding and other management tasks that you would have in like a Google Ads platform.
I feel like you've had AI integrated so well into your workflow that this almost seems like another step. How long have you been operating this, and have you seen success?
You know, the scripting is pretty new. AI's reached levels where its competency is pretty good, so I can get pretty solid scripts out of it. It's incredibly useful. In Google Ads, sometimes you're dealing with hundreds of keywords that you need to look over and find out which of those keywords should be negative or positive keywords. That's one way that scripting can help. One of the main ways I leverage it is for automated bidding, though. And I think that this is probably the biggest strength it has.
Do you think that doing this type of AI integration that you're going to show us is great for someone that's just getting into Google Ads that maybe is like a little intimidated to run it, or someone like you that's been doing it for a while and just wants to kind of offload some of the more complex stuff to AI?
And that's a really good question. There's probably like some fundamental knowledge of the full working product of Google Ads. There are a lot of dependencies in Google Ads and things that rely on other parts of the system. So when it comes to automation, you'll want to have a fairly robust understanding of how Google Ads works. This will just kind of give you superpowers once you do. Because once you have that full understanding, you realize how daunting certain tasks are. And so this is kind of the savior.
That's excellent. Well, I'm really excited to see it in action.
As a Google Ads user, I want to be able to control keyword bids automatically by setting an amount or percentage increase for my keyword bids based on the estimated top of page bid. Whoops. Okay, so let me explain this. Basically, in Google, you've got this constant feedback that shows you the range that you need to bid in order to show up above the fold on Google, which is our big goal. So typically you're looking for a bid that's going to place you somewhere, not necessarily at the very top, but above the fold, right? So somewhere in the middle. I want to be able to control that by telling Google Ads that either by an amount, let's say I want my bids to be 50% higher than what that minimum bid would be, or if I want it to be a percentage increase. The way it's going to determine that is based on that data that it has internally in Google, which is the estimated top of page bid. So it's going to look at that and it's going to say, okay, we're bidding too low on these keywords. Let's raise them by X amount. This is a really simple prompt. Hopefully it pulls through here with no hiccups. We'll go ahead and run it. There's a bit more definition that we're going to add to the script. So first we're going to get the core code that we need from ChatGPT. And then we'll tell it a little bit of information about our account. And what I've done is I have taken a screenshot of the ad groups in our account. And this screenshot I can send right over to ChatGPT, and it'll modify our script to kind of customize it. So hopefully we won't have too much of a lull here while it's generating code.
Is there a specific version of GPT? Here it goes, of GPT that you use?
That's a good question. I use several versions. I actually often start my conversations with the advanced voice, the ChatGPT advanced voice, because this allows me to describe a lengthy prompt for something like this much quicker. And that would be using the 4.0 model. And that model's capable of doing this, but I find that I get better results, tighter prompt adherence with 04 mini high, or even 03 if you want to wait a little bit longer. So we've got this kind of general script here, And remember, I'm not a coder, so I don't know what this does. I will, however, take that screenshot that I took of our ad groups and I will add it to ChatGPT, and I'll just let it know these are my ad groups. And so now this script will know what to apply to. That's what we're hoping for here.
And this is only the second thing you've told it so far, right?
Yeah, I've really just given it a really basic prompt, said I want to be able to control keyword bids automatically by setting amounts or percentages, and base it off of the estimated top of page bid that Google has. And then I've fed it the screenshot of our ad groups so it knows which ad groups this is going to apply to. And now we have a reconfigured script which has put in ad groups. However, I'm noticing something here because I've dealt with this a bit, and I'm noticing that it's not making these ad groups dependent on a parent campaign. And if that doesn't make sense immediately, it will if you try testing this. I need these ad groups to be dependent on their parent campaign. Because if I had ad groups in the account that were named similarly, but they were in different campaigns, this script would apply to all of them. And that might not be what I want. I want to target just the ad groups that are within specific campaigns or their parent campaigns specifically. So this will be our third prompt. We're going to modify a tiny bit more, and hopefully it nails it. And then in Google, just in case, we've got our scripts loaded up, but we're going to create a new script and kind of show this from the get-go. New script. We'll just get that prepped and bounce back over to ChatGPT and see where we're at. All right, so we can kind of see what's going on here. It's now parenting. I guess it wants me to add in the names here for campaign A, B, C, and D. That's one way to do it. We could use one of the prefabbed ones, but let's go ahead and put this in here. When you first load up a script, it gives you this tiny bit of code because it expects you to put your script in kind of the middle here. But we're just gonna remove all that and paste because we've got that function up here. Whenever you're creating a script, you also have to authorize it. And it's going to ask me to authorize the account to run automation in Google. And then we're going to save this. And my hunch is that if we try and preview this, it will error out because I don't have a campaign called campaign A. And I'll show you what this looks like. So we'll click preview. And this can take a few seconds, a minute. There's actually a limit, I believe, on scripts. If you write an enormous script that runs for more than 30 minutes, it'll get canceled. So there's actually a time limit. You'll see we didn't get any changes here. We didn't get any messages, and it's likely because we don't have things set up correctly. I know the name of my campaign, and I'm going to go ahead and put one in and remove the rest of these. Okay, so now I'm just targeting one campaign with three ad groups, sorry. And let me save. If we preview this, we should get some results this time. Okay, cool. Yeah, and you can see what's happening here. It tells us. So if we were to run this script against our campaign, if we go up here to the top, it's set to increment the keyword bid by 20% higher than the minimum bid amount that we're goaling for. And it shows you what those bids would turn into. So if I were to run this right now, it would go through these ad groups, which are the children of this campaign, and it would modify our bids. And you can see that happening here in real time. I'll go ahead and stop it. Here we go. One of the nice things you can do here, let's close this, is you can set these scripts to run daily, hourly, weekly, or monthly. And so we've got a lot of control here. And basically what you can do is you can create bidding scripts for your different ad groups, and they might be different. You might want some of your auto bidding scripts to use a percentage-based increment. You may want others, let's say they're really small keywords like under $1 per click. Then you're really going to want to target an amount increase, let's say, rather than a percentage increase, because the percentage increase is just going to be too small to really make a dent. And so I would go back to ChatGPT and say, hey, can you create another script like this one, but base it on a fixed amount rather than a percentage? And so if you look through the scripts I've added here, I've done exactly that. So I've basically got an above the fold, the ATF, I've got an above the fold percentage script that I run against branded keywords. I have a percentage-based script that runs against competitor keywords, and then I have a fixed amount non-branded script that also runs. So you can kind of piece these together, target each of the ad groups you want to automate, and start building out the scripts for them.
If you have the same term in different scripts, what happens then? Will they just error out, or will it let you do that?
That's a good question. It can error out, so it depends how your script is built. And again, I'm not a wizard when it comes to the scripting and deciphering the code in it. But essentially, you can build different. Let me show you an example here. So you can basically build these so there is no overlap. So scripts can be that specific. You can tell it to target just a certain subset of campaigns or ad groups or keywords. So you have full control of the scripting because you don't want conflict. You don't want two overlapping things, especially if they're running hourly, for instance, right? So you'll notice I do have 3 different above the fold scripts running, which modify bids every hour, but there is 0 overlap between them.
When using AI to set bids or anything, does it run a risk, and how can you mitigate that risk?
It does run a risk, yeah. One of the things that I keep an eye on quite a bit is competitor keywords. You're going to know your keyword set really well, and you know your competitors as well, but you don't have as much control over what's going to happen with their keywords and the cost of those keywords on Google. So I will, for lack of a better term, babysit this particular script, which is targeting competitor terms, because they can fluctuate a lot, and I may want to adjust certain bids if they become too high, let's say, and they're not worth it for us to compete on. So I'd say with certain keywords like competitor terms, babysitting can be done. Also, you don't have to have them run hourly. You could run them whenever you feel comfortable running them, right? You can go into the account, look everything over, and then say, okay, I'm going to run it, and then I'm going to look over all of its changes. And again, you have the option to preview. Oops, Google wants to refresh. And having the option to preview is kind of your go-to here, because as long as you run the preview, you'll see any changes it's going to make. And if you don't like them, and you notice that a keyword bid is out the roof, then you can just account for that in the preview and catch it before it goes live. The other option is to babysit and let it run hourly like I do.
Did you build each one of these separately in GPT, or did you kind of do a group or copy and paste, or?
There's actually 3 main scripts. What I was doing in Google Ads, it's a tedious thing. I'll refer to it as keyword harvesting. And it's the process of finding terms that users have searched for on Google, terms that you don't currently bid on, and starting to bid on them. So finding those terms, moving them into ad groups that have specific copy and keywords around them, and bidding on these things. So this keyword harvesting process is pretty time consuming. There are multiple steps to it. And so what I did is I created this apply negatives. This is the first script I ever started with. And what it does is it looks at all of the positive keywords that I have in an exact match campaign. These are keywords that I want to bid on. Side by side, I have another campaign that's running with broad keywords. And those broad keywords will essentially go crazy and spend all of our money if we don't rein them in with negatives. Negative keywords are the way to stop these broad campaigns from going crazy. So what I do is I created a script which looks at my exact match campaign, looks at all the keywords in it, takes those keywords, and then adds them into my mirrored broad match campaign. So there's no conflict between the 2 keywords. This is a common process for Google Ads managers to do. This makes it incredibly quick and easy to do. So I started there, and then I realized, well, as I hit my next tasks, I'll just start building scripts when applicable. The next thing was looking at my minimum keyword bids and making sure I'm not getting pushed down below the fold, which is a critical component for me. So I started building out all of these above the fold automations. Something else that's kind of, I want to say generic because it's been around for so long and everyone does some form of this, but it's quality score tracking. Years ago, Google removed the ability to monitor quality scores over time. And so since then, there have been all kinds of workarounds, but this script is pretty cool. I think it's actually just an open source script that's floating out there that's pretty common. I may have modified it a bit, but what it does is it connects to your Google Drive account. And do I have a snapshot of it? I think I do. Let's scroll up. So it creates a Google Drive file and it puts your keywords in here, any active keywords that it's spotted. And then let's go back here and run this really quick and I'll show you what happens. Let's run without preview. I've already previewed this stuff to make sure it's not going to break anything. And let's go back to our spreadsheet here. Maybe refresh, so give it another second here. There we go, it just loaded in. So what happened is it just created a new column and it's going to tag the keyword with the current active quality score that it's seeing. And every day that this runs, I'll get a new column and the spreadsheet will just keep growing to the right and I'll be able to see how these quality scores are evolving over time at the keyword level. So this is a beautiful script that's great. And I did have ChatGPT build this, but again, I think it was referencing kind of some common structured script that's already floating around on the interwebs. The important thing here is that we've got some core scripts that I think will be useful for everyone. It's the ability to manage negative and positive campaigns that you run side by side. Not everyone does this, but it's good practice and it allows you to keyword harvest. And if you're doing that, then scripting is going to be your friend. The other thing, of course, is your bidding. If you can get biddings automated, then you kind of have superpowers. Less important, but kind of a go-to over time is the quality score tracker to just see overall, are you able to impact the ad rank on things and get higher quality scores and click-through rates on your keywords. So that's kind of the core. These are the things that I think are really important. I think everyone should start implementing them now that we have the ability to.
If I can get this right, the core is that negative match foundation, the bidding, which is kind of the first script that we wrote live here, and then eventually the quality score tracking. Is that kind of like the three foundational pieces of this?
Yeah. The negative one is a huge time saver. It allows you to expand your account and find new keywords that users want to click. So it's really important, kind of critical to the growth of an account over time. Then the automation stuff that you do regularly or hourly, even as I have it set up, is the actual bidding for different keyword groups, and whether or not you want to do percentage-based or fixed amount. Yeah, that's it, and the quality score tracker. So those are the three kind of critical and easy components to implement. You can get really technical with scripting though and do more. A lot of campaigns, for instance, we're not dealing with shopping campaigns here. We're not dealing with products. And on a lot of products, not that you can't do this at the SaaS level as well, but the return on ad spend metric. So you can basically set up your campaigns to target a profit amount, if you will. So per dollar you spend, how much money do you want back? And so that is called ROAS, right? Return on ad spend. And that's a typical metric or KPI to target with scripting as well. You can have things adjust based on time of year, weather. You can tap into different APIs. So one thing that APIs do play a role in is scripting. Now, I'm not doing too much with that. So yeah, you can get really in depth with these things. I'm really just showing the core recommendations I'd have for any account.
Can you bring ChatGPT back up one more time? That negative match script. How do you go about?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Let's try a new one. Here's the type of prompt. I am expanding my keyword, my ad groups in Google Ads by running broad match campaigns. I want a script to, oh man, how are we going to do this? Crafting these prompts always takes a second. I want a script that looks at all of the positive keywords from my exact match campaign and add them as negatives to the broad match campaign. Something to this effect. This is a pretty dumbed down prompt, obviously, but I think it'll get us close. It should know what I'm talking about.
How much time do you suppose this has saved you doing it with AI versus manually?
Wow, it's not even comparable. So this allows me to do things. If I were to do a manual, I couldn't do them. It's just
Got it.
there's just too much. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't do some keyword harvesting manually. I do, and have obviously for years, but this just takes it to the next level. I might be able to get through 100 keywords in an hour or something, and this is just gonna, there's no limits when I'm dealing with scripting. So it doesn't matter if there's 20,000 keywords in the account, it's all gonna happen. So I physically just don't have the time or ability to manage that granular level of a Google Ads account.
Who would have wrote? Who would have done these for you before ChatGPT?
Yeah, the open source world, right? Looking around the community, grabbing scripts that other people have written that work. And a lot of what ChatGPT is doing, of course, is referencing those conversations over time as well. These things have existed, and we've definitely used scripting in the past, but this is just a much simpler way to do it. You can have it automatically pause things, for instance, if conversion rates go low. The possibilities are endless with scripting, at least that's my take on it right now. The amount of hours or time it saves is just immeasurable. It really just allows you to do things you wouldn't otherwise have capacity to do. Not anywhere close.
And how does this script look? Like, does this look pretty close to what you were hoping for?
That's a good question. You'd think I'd be like good at scripting by now. I'm not. So yeah, this looks like it's in line, right? It's saying that I've got an exact match campaign. It looks like it's allowing me to do multiples. It must have referenced another conversation where I asked it to do multiples. So basically I can put in these pairs, but what it does is it's going to look at exact campaign 1. It's going to find the keywords and add them into the broad match as negative keywords. Sometimes when I'm generating these scripts, I will immediately after say, okay, review the script and tell me kind of step by step, how does it work? What's it doing? Are there any issues with it?
Can we do that with this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Can you look this over and walk me through it in the simplest terms?
That's one of my favorite uses of AI.
You and me both. Yeah, I'm not smart enough for its responses. Plus, I get overwhelmed by the length of its responses. So, why you'd use it? Keep your broad match campaigns from showing on searches you already cover exactly. So yeah, that's the goal. That's the end goal in the account, is that you want this to happen. You want your exact match keywords to not have overlap in your broad match campaigns. You tell it which campaigns to pair up, and I think we looked at that up here, and it gave us 2 options. Of course, we could add more. They're just separated by a comma here. So that makes sense. In the campaign array list, each exact match campaign name alongside its corresponding broad match. And here we go. Here's the power, right? Pulls every exact match keyword from the exact campaign. For each of those keywords, it reads the text, okay, checks if the exact phrase is already a negative. If yes, logs it as already there. If not, adds the phrase as a campaign level negative keyword in the broad campaign. So according to it, it's going to do exactly what we want it to do. Let's grab this script and paste it in, and then we need to modify a couple things. I feel like the script got a little bit bugged. It's not asking me for my ad groups, and I don't want it to do this at the campaign level. So and that was my bad. In the prompt, I didn't instruct that we want this to be at the ad group level. I'm not the best prompter. I typically will get on the mobile app and use advanced voice with ChatGPT to start my conversations. I feel like it's the most robust way to give it a prompt, a spec, if you will.
That's my favorite way to use AI too. I use advanced voice all the time.
It's so useful. So useful. Yeah, the amount of time I spend prompting, sometimes I'll just give up and then open up advanced voice and say, hey, let's create this prompt together. Here's what I'm trying to achieve. I'll use O4 to just discuss the conversation, right? Because with prompting, I find that I'm going back and forth. I'm forgetting things. It'll render code and then I'll realize, oops, I need to change something. So by having that upfront conversation over voice, you're able to identify a lot of those gotchas that might snag you later. And so talk through it, get your prompt ready, and then tell it to generate that prompt, and then just copy that over to your AI of choice. In this case, O4 Mini High. It's just so much easier than typing and trying to perfect your words. It's kind of like hacking the Google search like we all did. We all learned how to hack Google. I don't like having to do that with AI. And so voice really allows me to not really try and get the right result out of it by typing in the right words, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
This script, let's grab it. Let's try it. Let's go back into unnamed script and replace. Okay, so if we look this over, we've now got the ability to put in RivalFlow. Okay, and I'm targeting the same campaign. I have a branded campaign, and I think we can go SEO on the broad campaign. Hopefully I know these B. Okay, so now let's get rid of the second one. We don't need the second one yet. So this is now targeting an ad group called SEO within the RivalFlow campaign versus a broad version of that same ad group in the same campaign. So I have a hunch this will work as long as the rest of the script isn't messed up. Let's save it. Let's just give it a name called test negatives. Save. And we'll find out. I also have a lot of automation that already runs in the account, so some of these things might have already have been accounted for. So we might not see any changes. Oh, cool, look, we're seeing changes. This is great. So success, success. So that means that it found new keywords in my exact match campaign that did not exist as negatives in the broad match campaign. So this is exactly what we wanted to do. We're not getting any errors. It's going through a slew of keywords right now, and any that aren't currently added to that broad match will be added. And again, this is kind of like routine maintenance for Google Ads. So this particular script is just a huge time saver. I mean, you can see how many keywords are here. And it's not that adding keywords is slow, it's that looking over hundreds and thousands of keywords to identify what is negative and what is positive.
And that's everything that you have to do in there, right? Like you don't have to go back into there and change something else in Google. That's done.
Correct. Yeah, this is done. So if we were to look in this ad group, you'll see that I've got negative keywords, and these keywords are now getting added via the script, right? So, and you'll see we've got 1,100 keywords in here, right? So as I expand my exact match campaigns, these keywords will now automatically get added. So that's the actual task. So as I'm building my exact match campaigns, rather than having to figure out which keywords and move them all into negatives in another campaign, this is handling that.
That's incredible just to see that script written in GPT actually have an impact right here on the ads campaign. That's just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, huge time saver across the board. You can't really go wrong with scripting in Google Ads right now. And I don't know how many people are aware of this. I've been kind of fiddling with it for the last year-ish as AI has gotten just so much better at producing snippets of code.
Would you recommend this process to other people? Who would you recommend this to?
Yeah, everyone. Maybe a really tiny campaign doesn't need a lot of automation. And that's kind of obvious just because automation really saves time. But if you find that you're spending a ton of time in Google Ads, then it means you can automate something. So if you're brand new and you've got a tiny account, cool, you might not need scripting. However, you may also find that as a new account, scripting can help you build your campaigns much faster too. So it might be able to turn your campaign into a huge campaign, even though you're starting out small. Because you could script a lot of things to build the accounts, even creating ads or changing ad copy, things like that.
Well, thank you, Tree, so much for walking us through this. This was so exciting to watch live. Thank you so much.
For sure. Yeah, thanks, guys.